Okay, in this video, we're going to be installing VMware vSphere Hypervisor 7.0, as it says right here. So first thing you're going to need to do is create an account. I already have. I'm going to go ahead and log into my account. No, we don't want to save the password. So after you create an account, it's going to ask you to register. And it'll be a little icon right here that says register. You'll have to put in some user information, where you live, address, phone number, all that good stuff. So once that's done, it'll take you to your download page. There's two things you're going to need. Here's your license for the VMware, and then you have two different flavors of VMware to download, or hypervisor. One is the actual hypervisor by itself. The other one is the hypervisor with VMware tools. So I'm going to go ahead and download just the hypervisor. So go ahead and click on manually download, let it download. While that's doing that, go ahead and stick a thumb drive in your computer if you already haven't, because you're going to need it. And then you want to Google Rufus. Go ahead and select the one that pops up there. Mine was the first one. Web page should look like this. Here's the link if you want to manually type it in. They'll both be in the description. Go ahead and click it, save it. They're both downloaded. Once they're both downloaded, go ahead and go to your downloads folder. In there you want to launch Rufus. It should pop up. You want to select the thumb drive that you want to load it to. I don't know if you have multiple drives, but go ahead and select the one you want it on. Right here where it says disk or ISO image, go ahead and click select. In your downloads directory, select the hypervisor. And then you're going to have two choices here. If you have UEFI only, this is what you're going to want to select. I happen to have an NBR, which is BIOS, so this is what I want. You don't have to do anything else, just click start. If there's something on the drive, go ahead and kill it. Make sure it's not something you want to keep. Tell it okay. It's going to write it out. And once it's done, you're going to kill it. Click close, eject your drive, and then we're going to boot it on your system. So let me get this done, and when we get to that point, we'll go from there. Okay, we got our USB media created. Go ahead and stick it in your computer that you're booting to. You want to enter your BIOS, which will either be delete or F1 or F2, depending on the motherboard manufacturer. There's going to be a couple of settings you want to change, and most recent, even some fairly older units have this in there. So what you're going to want to do is go to, well, wherever it is in yours. I'm just going to show you where it is in mine. So in mine, it's under advanced. These options will be the same, they just might not be in the same place. So under boot feature here, have restore on AC power loss. I want that to power on. That way when the power goes out and it kicks back on, my hypervisor boots back up, and that way my VMs can come back up, provided they're set that way in the hypervisor. But anyway, this will allow your unit to power back on. You want to change that under CPU configuration here on mine. We have the Intel virtualization technology. You want that enabled as well. And then under chipset configuration, I believe on this one, Northbridge, under the IIO configuration, yeah, Intel VT. So you want all this enabled. What this does is allows like your video card or your network card to pass directly through to the virtual machine. So if you have like Plex, for example, and you want to be able to transcode directly to a video card, you want this enabled. So go ahead and enable that, get out of here, and then I'm going to boot to, because everything in this BIOS right now is set to UEFI. Now when we created that flash drive, MBR was either UEFI or BIOS. So if you have your BIOS, which this is BIOS, if you have UEFI enabled, this is what you want. So go ahead and hit that, and then we're going to save the changes and reset on this particular board. I'm going to go ahead and let this reboot, and when it starts to come back up, I'll restart the video. Yes. Okay, so it's booting back up. The only reason I stopped it and started it because these SuperMicros take some time to boot. So as you can see here, it's just now showed me the splash screen. So there we go. So go ahead and enter to boot. Now if this for some reason fails during install for you, if you have an older Intel NIC like a gigabit or even an Intel and 100 megabit NIC, which I don't even know if you'd have a slot for one of those, a PCI slot. If you put that in there, version 7 should continue on. If not, it may error out stating your technology. It's really weird, stating your technology is out of date or something. But if you put an Intel NIC, I've done this a couple of times, an older Intel NIC in a PCI slot, if you have a PCI slot, it should go ahead and boot. But if not, just instead of downloading 7, get 6.7. You'll be just fine. So we'll go ahead and we're booting up here. And it shouldn't take too long. And it shows you how much memory is in this system and what CPU it is. So this isn't like a over the top. This is a budget system here. The reason I really like this motherboard is because it's got 10 gig Ethernet ports on it. So here we go. And I'm going to go ahead and pause it because this is going to take a minute. Okay, here we are. Now it did flash a little red arrow. I didn't see what it said, but we're going to go ahead and continue. I know it'll load on here because I've loaded it on here. So go ahead and hit enter to continue. F11. F11, not F10. It's going to look for your drive. And we have some 500 gig T-Force drives in here, but we're not going to do that. We're going to install it on our NVMe drive, which is this 230 gig drive here, which is way more than what you need. But we can also take this drive later and maybe add our ISOs to it, or even install an OS on it. I mean, it's you're going to have some left over. So go ahead and select it, enter to continue. The disk is going to be wiped out. That's fine with me. There's nothing on this that I want. I'm going to hit enter OK. I'm going to choose the US default for my keyboard layout. We're going to put in a password. Passwords match. That's great. Don't always happen when I do it. Okay. It's going to give you one final chance here before it destroys your drive. F11 install. And then we're going to go ahead and let it install. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here because I think around 26% it slows down. Maybe not, I could be wrong. Let's just see what happens. installing quicker than I remember. Now when it did boot, and it got to that one spot where I paused it, it took about 2 or 3 minutes to continue on, so don't freak out. I mean, your computer's not stuck. Well, it may be, but chances are it's not. If you're having an issue just getting into the installer screen, you've got some problems. Okay, yeah, maybe it's 54%. I'm going to go ahead and pause it until it's done. Okay, now it says remove the media before rebooting. We're going to go ahead and do that. Just pull it right on out of there. And then go ahead and reboot. When it comes back up, we'll continue. Okay, it's booting back up. Should automatically boot. We're going to press enter to go ahead and make it run a little quicker. Now, if it's going to fail, this is where it's going to fail. Now, the install may tell you have out-of-date hardware, but it should install. This will be the point of failure. Again, if you've got a PCI slot and an old Intel card, stick it in there and see if that doesn't fix your issue. I'm going to go ahead and let this get all the way to the login screen, and then we'll continue the recording. Okay, so we're booted back up. Apparently I didn't pick up an address. It's probably plugged into the wrong NIC. I think it selects NIC 1 as the default. Let's go ahead and log in here and take a look at it. So root is your login. Put in your password that we did earlier. Okay. So we're going to configure management network. I'm going to take a look at our network adapter. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and select that one by pressing the space bar. Go ahead and tell it OK. I'm going to escape out of it. Yes, I want to restart that management network. So it's going to take me out, and now it gives me an IP address. But I'm going to give it a static address. So let's go ahead and go back into it. I'm going to disable the IPv6. Go ahead and hit enter for OK. I'm going to give it a static. Space bar there. We're going to, if you hit the right arrow, it'll take you all the way to the right. If you don't, when you hit the backspace, it'll erase everything. So we're going to start at 150. Turn numlock on. 150. We're going to leave everything else the same because it is the same. Press enter for OK. But again, if you didn't pick up an IP, see how it says disconnected? Just deselect that one and go down and select the other one. That is only if you have 2 NICs like I do or more. So anyway, we're going to save those changes. It may ask me to reboot. Yeah, it's going to ask me to reboot because I disabled the IPv6. I don't think it'll ask you to reboot unless you do that. But I'm not going to use IPv6. So we're going to go ahead and reboot this thing. I'll show you that it came up properly, and then we'll get over to the web interface of it and start going from there. So I'm going to go ahead and tell it yes. It's going to do a restart in progress. I'm going to let it reboot. There it goes. And then I'll be back to show you that it booted up. Okay, now it's booted back up, and you can see we have just the IPv4 address now. So you're going to need that address, so remember what it is, because we're going to have to go into that in our web browser. So let me get switched over here and we'll get into that. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to our address that we had. Mine was 150. Depending on what browser you have, it's going to look like this or similar or something. Anyway, you want to go to Advanced, accept the risk and continue. Go ahead and type in root, your password that you've been using. Go ahead and press enter. Now you really want to click login, not press enter, because it may throw up an error. And the first time you log in, it's going to ask you if you want to join the experience program. I just told it no. But anyway, if it throws up that error, just hit the escape key, the error will go away. So what we want to do is take our key, we want to activate it. So go ahead and grab our license key, copy, go to manage, go to licensing, we're going to assign a license key. Go ahead and check license, and then we want to assign the license. And there you go. It never expires. Now it's a very basic version, but you can add VMs, you know, and do a lot of things with it. Go ahead and look at your storage real quick. So what you want to do is click on that. This is the default drive that it's installed on. We've only got 108 gigs of free space here. I'm going to go ahead, now if you've got extra drives in your system too, you want to go ahead and follow along. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video real quick. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, we want to go to devices, and if you have a drive, it should show up here. I have those two T-Force drives we saw earlier, which are 500 gig SSDs. I'm going to go ahead and click on it. We're going to click New Data Store. We're going to name this Data 1. I mean, as simple as that, I guess. You can name them whatever you want. It does not matter. Oh, useful disk, sorry. Yes, VMF6, yes. Click next, finish. It's going to kill, it's going to wipe everything out on that drive, yes. Okay, so we want to create another data store. Go ahead and go back to your storage because we should still be on devices. Go ahead and click on your second one, New Data Store. I'm going to call this Data 2. Next. Full disk. Next. Finish. Yes. Okay, so go back to our storage here. Go to data stores and they should all show up now. So that's how you add a data store. Sort it by free space if you want. So as a basic setup, that is really all there is to do. If you want to turn on SSH, you can do it in here. That'll be under Manage and Services. So the next video will be about how to set up a VM and get those running. So until then, if this video was at all helpful, please hit the like button and leave a comment. And if you want to see future videos like this, please hit that bell icon so you can get a notification. Anyway, thank you for watching my video. Y'all have a good day.